Hello guys, welcome to Anatomy and Physiology screencast. This will be the carry on from today's lesson looking at coronary heart disease and cardiovascular system. So recapping what we did in lesson, we looked at the 4 types of coronary heart disease, arteriosclerosis, atherosclerosis, angina and a heart attack or myocardial infarction. Your job now is to kind of make the link between, if you have those, what could you have done in the first place to prevent having them? So we're going to have a look at the kind of concept firstly. If I said to you, you've got these 4 coronary heart diseases, that you've then got a bridge. The bridge is the kind of balanced, active, healthy lifestyle that can stop you having them in the first place. And then we're going to have a look at, once you've looked at that kind of balanced, active, healthy lifestyle, what it consists of and how it affects those 4 aforementioned coronary heart disease. We're then going to have a look at the direct effects that these lifestyle changes can have on the specific coronary heart diseases. So, balanced, active, healthy lifestyle then. Okay, if you have a balanced, active, healthy lifestyle, we've talked about this a lot recently, you would exercise, you'd have a healthy diet, and you wouldn't smoke. So basically, if you look at this, you think, right, you're looking at that, it is not enough to say exercise, it's not enough to say a healthy diet, and it's not enough to say not smoking. What you need to have an idea of, what exercise is going to cause the adaptations or the prevention of coronary heart disease. You need to know what diet or what should you not have in your diet that can prevent specific coronary heart disease, and finally, which coronary heart disease does smoking prevent. So going down from here, alright, exercise then. You might remember this from GCSE. If you did GCSE, if you didn't, it's a very simple concept. Exercise should be applied to the FIT principle. So in order to have a healthy lifestyle, in order to have changes to the cardiovascular system, adaptations, or things that can kind of prevent coronary heart disease, you should train with a frequency of 5 times a week. Intensity should be at 60 to 80% of your maximum heart rate. Time should be 30 minutes, and the type could be jogging, cycling, rowing, whatever. Okay, so that is your first thing. That's what exercise is there for. The adaptations to exercising are what we're going to talk about in about 2 bullet points time. So if you go down to smoking causes the onset of arteriosclerosis. We've talked about that in today's lesson. So if you don't smoke, it prevents that kind of hardening of the artery wall, leading to a decreased elasticity, and then an increased elasticity, Also, high cholesterol. So if you have an unhealthy diet, so we talked about this concept of a healthy diet, a high cholesterol diet will be considered an unhealthy diet. This can help lead to atherosclerosis. As I mentioned today, the cholesterol builds up around the outside of the coronary artery wall. This causes a decreased lumen. Okay, so basically you've got this kind of concept. It's important that when you have talked about the characteristics of coronary heart disease, you understand what a healthy lifestyle is, but even more importantly than that, you can go into a little bit of detail about what each of these components is, and secondly, how it prevents the specific coronary heart diseases. So now we've got this, the key adaptations really come from exercise, but we have to talk about these 3 points as a kind of bridge before we go into it. So if I go through now, there are certain adaptations that take place to the cardiovascular system that directly prevent coronary heart disease. Okay, first one. There is a decrease in low-density lipoproteins. So basically, low-density lipoproteins are cholesterol or fatty deposits that we talked about that gather around the artery wall, okay, decreasing the lumen. And the reason why there's a decrease in low-density lipoproteins is because there's an increase in the opposing lipoprotein, which is high-density lipoprotein, and these act as scavengers within the blood, and they chip away at the fatty deposits or the LDLs that are located around that coronary artery wall. So straight away you can start to think, if you've got something in the blood that is chipping away at cholesterol around the artery wall or the coronary artery wall, that's going to prevent the disease that is basically referred to as the accumulation of fatty deposits, cholesterol, around the artery wall, which is our atherosclerosis. So you can see that on there, there's your key bit. Moving on. Okay, so the key thing, low density lipoproteins, high density lipoproteins, make sure you know, decreased in the bad ones, which are these, and then an increase in the good ones, which are these. They act as this, chip away at the cholesterol or LDLs. Next one, cardiac hypertrophy. So basically, as a result of taking part in physical activity, your heart will increase in size. This leads to an increased pumping capacity. Now, as a result of that, you have an increase in stroke volume and cardiac output. Now, that doesn't directly affect coronary heart disease in any way, but what it does indirectly is it causes the artery walls to vasodilate and vasoconstrict, and because of that constant movement and stimulation of the artery walls, it prevents arteriosclerosis. Because you're kind of constantly having that kind of movement, that opening, that closing, they're constantly being used. And I always use the kind of analogy of kind of, if you have a piece of chewing gum, stick it under the table, okay, you go back to it the next day, that chewing gum is rock hard. Okay, if you're chewing gum in your mouth, okay, constantly, it's soft. It's the same as an artery wall. If it's opening and closing, it's being stimulated. Therefore, it doesn't become inelastic. So it prevents this kind of concept of arteriosclerosis. So if you could just make sure you've got that bit down. Then, going on from there, there is also a decreased blood viscosity. Now, we've already talked about this in relation to the effects of a warm-up on the vascular system. So it's the same concept here. A long-term kind of period of exercise, you're going to have a decreased blood viscosity. If you have a decreased blood viscosity, this means there is less resistance to blood flow because the blood is thinner. You have to use this term in bold, okay, and it basically means that you have a more efficient transport of oxygenated blood to the working muscles. Now, if you think about this, it's a decrease in blood viscosity, there's a decrease in the resistance to blood flow, therefore it prevents that kind of concept of clotting of blood. So if it prevents blood clots, that will lead to a decreased chance of a heart attack. If you remember, we talked about that cause and effect earlier today. Going on from there, okay, there's an increase in red blood cell production. So that means if there's more red blood cells, there's more oxygen bound to hemoglobin, which means there is more oxygen that can be transferred to the working muscles. Now, this is more of a kind of an adaptation that will aid fitness as a result, as opposed to coronary heart disease, but it's certainly one to put in there. Okay, going on from there, the final adaptation is there is a reduced resting blood pressure. Now, this is absolutely huge, because if there's a reduced resting blood pressure, it prevents blood clots, because it's preventing that resistance of the blood vessel wall or the artery wall against blood flowing through. So if we can prevent that, okay, it means that we've got less chance of developing hypertension, which is that kind of permanent, consistent high blood pressure. So if we're preventing the kind of hypertension where you've permanently got a pressure or a kind of resistance against the flow of blood through the coronary artery, you're also giving yourself less chance of having a heart attack or any of the aforementioned coronary heart diseases. Now, we will also have a look at a critical evaluation of kind of the effect of exercise and dieting on coronary heart disease, but for now, they're the key things I need you to look at. Recap: you need to know about balanced, active, healthy lifestyle. What the three components? Do you know what they are? Do you know how they specifically affect coronary heart disease? And then, as a result of taking part in a healthy diet and an exercise program that is fit, you then have these adaptations. These adaptations will directly impact upon your chances of getting coronary heart disease in a positive way. You need to know them. You need to be able to develop them. Tomorrow's lesson will be based upon a specific way of remembering them. So you just need to make sure you've made your notes, your Cornell notes, you've got questions linked to the descriptions with the answers being anything that's emboldened, okay, in the next to the bullet point. Okay, thank you.